आज की विशिष्ट तिथि पर आप सभी को शुभकामनाएं। Today is a day where a legendary personality has come into this world to spread the divine message from India to all over the world. We all have assembled here in commemoration of the day and to discuss, to evaluate, and to formalize future plans, strategies, and policies for the continuity. You are, I'm told, the schedule of the day says that you are deliberating on 5 landmark judgments of the Supreme Court in the year 2019. I must tell you, of all the 5, this is the most tricky judgment. It's not as simple as it appears to be. The rest of the issues have some scope of clarity, whereas this particular judgment is a perennial, continuous issue that has been bothering the nation since the first general election. I will not go much into the background of this issue because a 10 minutes Googling will give you the basic background understanding of this issue. Who is this Ayaram, who is this Gayaram, where it started, how it started. So if you spend at least 10 to half an hour, 30 minutes, that will give you the background. This famous phrase, infamous phrase of Ayaram Gayaram has come into existence in 1967, where an MLA in Haryana Assembly shifted his loyalties thrice a day, umpteen times in a week, और मजाक चलता था कि आज देखेंगे कहाँ बैठा है, उस तरफ बैठेगा, इस तरफ बैठेगा. Since then, the mockery of Indian democracy is witnessed. I don't know how many of you were born at the time, in 1983, when N.T. Ramarao came to power with a thumping mandate. That Ramdal was our governor. And with one stroke, he threw out N.T. Ramarao from power. Then this camp politics, if I remember correct, because then I was a very student activist and I was actively participated in that movement to save democracy as a student of Usmania University in those days. The camp politics started from there. These are सभी कि भेड़ बकरी को कैसा डाल देते हैं उसी तरह we have captured, we have picked up all the MLAs, put them in a camp, guarded them overnight with lathis, and ensure that nobody outside comes into the camp until the test on the floor has taken place. We have ensured their presence in the flock. It may be sounding derogatory, but we have maintained the flock. But it's very unparliamentary in a parliament democracy to say such words. Another mockery of democracy has been clearly witnessed in India in 1983, where N.T. Ramarao government was thrown out. Since then, this issue on and off is coming up before the people at different parts of the country and before the court, Honorable Supreme Court, several times. Basic understanding, for just understanding of the basics, I'll touch upon the basics of this issue and then we'll present the issues that are bothering my mind. Here, I'm very clear that I'm not going to deliver upon any lecture speech, but I will present my doubts, the issues that are bothering me before you, so that I expect, and I not only expect, I want all of you to ponder over these issues and come up with some solutions. Basically, we are in a democratic country. What is democracy? The simple definition of democracy is a system in which the government of the country is elected by the people. देश की जनता अपने नेता को चुनते हैं और सरकार चलाने के लिए, to make the policies, to implement them, to govern, people elect their representatives. So where there is a people's participation, it's called democracy. Democracy में what is the essential quality of a democracy? Democracy is a place where you can freely air your thoughts, your principles, your ideologies. We all have different understandings of the issues, different commitments, different orientations. So, in a broader sense, the essential quality of a democracy is to have a political party system, party structure. Different political parties have come up in India. We have a multiple party system in India. How a political party is formed? As I suggested, people of same thought process, people of the same commitments, people of the same ideology come together and they become into a political party. So it can be said as a political party is a organized group of people who have the same ideology, who have the same political positions. When there is a political party, when there are political parties, what do? They feel their candidates, they present their candidates, their party nominees before the people and request the people to elect them so that they can implement their agenda. The largest chunk of people of a party, they form the government. And they, as per their agenda, they run the country, they make the policies, they execute them, they implement them. The party fields candidates for election in an attempt to get them elected and thereby implement the party's agenda. So this is the third step. Now, after this, what are the essential qualities of a party? How it can be considered as a political party? Persons of the same opinion come together, they will have a brand, they will have a name of the party, they formulate their ideology or principles, they will have an election symbol, they will come out with a manifesto for the well-being of the society, what they want to execute if they are elected to govern, and it will have a leadership. So these are some of the essential qualities, ingredients of a political party. That it will have a name, it will have an ideology, it will have a manifesto, it will have a symbol, it will have a leadership. They're all put together, they will field a candidate before the people, and people elect them, they come to power, and they start governing the nation and make policies for all of us. To that extent, it is fine. Now, when does the country prosper? The country prospers when there is a stable government. Stability of the government is the key issue, key factor for any nation's progress. Fine. In most of the cases, people elect majority of the candidates of the party, and they come to power and they start governing. Now the question is, what will happen if any political party doesn't get a majority? The basic principle is that, suppose, per se, there are 100 seats in an assembly. So who will form the government? Any political party that gets 51 seats, one over and above the half benchmark, will form the government. Suppose the single largest party gets about 48 seats, 3 short of the majority to form the government. Then what will happen? The whole crux, the problem starts here. What will happen? Political party A gets 48, the required number is 51. B gets 20, political party C gets 15, and D gets 5, independent gets 1 or 2. No party, in principle, as per rules, is not allowed to form the government. Then what will happen? Then, to come into power, to grab the power, or to save their political identity, poaching starts. Poaching, in the recent corporate world, the word poaching is very prominent, very famous. Poaching by what? By luring, by coercion, by threatening, by inducements. So in legal terminology, it is called defection. So that's what exactly the infamous, the story started in 1967 in the Haryana Assembly. And Indian democracy, the greatest strength of Indian democracy is that our Indian system, our democratic system has got the capacity and the authority to correct itself in the due course. गलती सुधारने का ताकत और हिम्मत दोनों अपने इंडियन डेमोक्रेटिक सिस्टम में है. That is the reason the Anti-Defection Act came into force in 1985. Now the question is, does this Anti-Defection Act serve the purpose? A schedule called 10 schedule has been incorporated in the Constitution. Certain rules were framed. Certain authorities were given to the presiding officers of the particular houses, whether it is an assembly or Lok Sabha. In 1985 Anti-Defection Act has it served its purpose? To my understanding, it might have curtailed defections to some extent, but it did not provide the wholesome solution to the problem. There were defections post 1985. One of the way out that the political parties evolved to survive to form the governments is that post-poll alliances. Suppose the party A gets 48 seats out of 100, then it joins another political party of 10, 15, 20, gets the requisite number to form the government over and above 51, approaches the governor, then get the invitation to form the government. Then the due course takes place, the technicalities. The paucity of time doesn't allow me to go into the details of every procedural aspect. Does this post-poll alliances provided the stable government? Because the stable government is the only solution for the development and prosperity of the nation. Stable government, as we have been deliberating upon, is to work for the well-being. But as we all witnessed, the post-poll alliances do not effectively work. Whether you call it a pre-poll or post-poll or alliance, whether it is a United Front or some other front, the greatest disaster, of course, the party to which I belong, to the political ideology to which I belong, is also a sufferer, is a loser. But 1977 experiment did not solve the real issue. Post-emergency, several political parties have come together, but they are all short-lived. When you don't get a majority, when a political party doesn't get the simple majority, taking advantage of the previous experiences, people have started defecting. When the alliances between several political parties have taken place, in most of the cases we see that some of the parties, some of the candidates of the party starts blackmailing their ministers, chief ministers, authorities in the government, horse trading, awarding of contracts ethically, unethically, legally, illegally, circumventing the rules, providing backdoor, facilitating backdoor methods. So finally, these defections have started eating up the vitals of Indian democracy. If the democracy is not strong, it's not vibrant, then the country will do this. But such defections have started eating up into the vitals of the democracy. Now, the case, the judgment, which the organizers have chosen to deliberate upon, is again a classic example. And my sincere thanks to Jain sir, because he elaborately dealt with the nuances of the case. So by now, most of you have understood the technicalities, the legal aspects, the issues that the Supreme Court has decided upon, and its future implications. My sincere thanks for making my job easy. But there are certain issues that come up before my mind. The defections, if we look at them, they have two twin purposes. When the defection can take place of two twin purposes. One, the people cannot be forced with immediate another election if no single party gets majority. So, not to burden the people to cast their vote once again, not to burden the state executive to conduct the elections. Some of the like-minded people defecting to the other side to form the government. One. Two. The backside of the coin is to create some kind of unrest. Two, get things done by force, by coercion, by joining the hands. Three, to fulfill their political agendas and to be in public life by hook or crook. So in all aspects, on any count, defections are not advisable. And to some extent, the Anti-Defection Act enacted in 1985 has come into force and it stands. But there were several intelligent ways to circumvent them. And people have been effectively doing it, and courts have been very effectively handling those issues. Karnataka elections saw 104 seats to BJP, next to JDU and Congress. All have less number to form the government than the required number. JDU and Congress are coming to alliance. And the only purpose is to come to power. Then, pulls, backlashes, pressures, emotional, physical, monetary, have played a vital role, a key role. Some of the members are dissatisfied, disgruntled, those who do not get ministerial beds. Then there are some of them have submitted the resignations. And those resignations were pending with the Speaker. Now, in the order that we were discussing, the role of the Speaker comes in. He is the presiding officer. He is the presiding officer for any kind of activity that happens within the premises of the Assembly or Parliament. And the 10th schedule does not give any time limit for a speaker to decide on such issues. And one of the clause is that a member gives up his membership voluntarily. Now, the mindset of the speaker plays a powerful role here. So in the name of ensuring that somebody has given up his seat to voluntarily, the speaker says that he wants to check the facts. But how much time? That's where the Supreme Court has ordered in the recent judgment. It has to some extent given the limitations of the speaker. It said the speaker cannot debar a person, disqualify a person for too long. And he cannot order that he should not contest the elections till certain period. The role of the speaker. In most of the cases, the indecision by the speaker has also added the problem, has multiplied the problem. I don't know how many of you noticed and heard it clearly. Sanjay Jain was reading the last paragraph of the judgment where the judges clearly mentioned about the intentions of the speaker. The speaker has to be above the party politics, and then his act should be above the party politics, and it has to be as a neutral person. So this is the sum and substance, but the exact wording has read it out for your convenience. In most of the cases, the speaker sat as a files. In Karnataka, originally there were only 2 members who resigned because immediately the issue was not dealt with. So some more have joined. So from 2 it was to 15, then came down to 16, then went up to 17, then came down to 15. And there was a huge political drama. There was a resort politics. For almost 1.5 months, there was no governance in the state. That's a part. In name of ensuring that somebody has resigned voluntarily, a timely decision was not taken, and it has complicated the issue further. So what is the role of the speaker is also a matter to be considered seriously. Now here, I would like to tell you that some of the recommendations were made by the Law Commission. I suggest all of you to read the recommendations of the Law Commission and its practicality in implementing, whether they would lessen the problem or will it help in any way to prevent the defections. We till now discussed about the post-poll arrangements, where a single party does not get the majority, it will have into alliance into the post-polls, and it happened everywhere. Now I will give you another classic example, which I would request all of you to think over. Suppose, in case, there is a pre-poll alliance. We have come into an agreement that because of our interest, after the elections, when I did not get the required sufficient majority to form the government. So it was a give and take compromise quid pro quo. So problems can appear naturally because your interests are different, my interests are different, your ideology is different, my ideology is different, my execution system is different, you wanted to have it in another way. So somewhere, sometime, one has to compromise, and in governance, compromise means at the cost of people's welfare. It's simple fun. Then, the another sequence I would like to bring to in the context of this judgment is not directly related, not the issue that I mentioning to you. And the key factors have been already in a thorough and proper manner was put before you by Sri Sanjay Jain. Suppose there is a pre-poll arrangement. We both have agreed upon certain issues. We both have come to an understanding on these principles, ideologies. And we both went to the people. And people have voted, some of my members and some of your members, thinking that we will help each other. We both will become into a coalition and will run the state for 5 years. After the people have given a clear mandate, the required member to form the government, suddenly you change your mind for obvious reasons. Then, what is it called? The routine political dialogues get set aside. We are all lawyers here and we are going into practice, and everything is whatever we deliberate in the future is basically within the guidelines of constitution or law books. So ये विश्वासघात है, this is a betrayal to the people, it is against the people's verdict. ये सब हम भाषण में बाद में बोलेंगे, not here. But when we deliberate here, let's talk within the framework of the constitution and legal aspects. One of the classic examples is Karnataka, where the defections have seen a different kind of unusual. Suppose 2-3 persons defect, that comes into defection, and as per the 10th schedule, they are disqualified. So in Karnataka, what they have done? They resigned. Yes, I can resign. I can quit my party post or in MLA-ship or MP-ship. So what the problem you have? Suppose if it is a voluntarily. Then it does not suit the political needs of the party in governance, and a particular party, a member of that party becomes the speaker, presiding officer. So वो सोचा कि नहीं, I will not allow you because you have ill intentions to behind your ill. और एक चीज और आपके सामने रखना है मेरे को. Please try to evaluate the concept of mensuria in Criminal Procedure Code, CRPC, and the intent behind this resignation in the name of voluntarily. Does they have any relation? अगर कोई आपके NIUs में अगर कहीं भी, if somebody can write a piece of article, that would be very advantageous for the other people, other advocates. Criminal Act में the mensuria is taken the primary factor, whether he has an intention to kill or attack or whatever. Similarly, in the name of voluntarily giving up the post, the speaker has to see what is in his mind. So that happened in Karnataka. The people have resigned. फिर बाद में वो number बढ़ गया, the number grew, it became so finally. Speaker wanted to have, on the recommendations, on the complaint, on the petition of some political party, that it amounts to defection. And the contention of the people who have resigned is that we have resigned and our resignation should be accepted. Pre-poll alliance में Maharashtra में 2 political parties have come together on the same platform, same ideology. They have gone to people and people have given them clear mandate. And one of the partner in the alliance has changed its mind. अब इसको क्या बोलना है? Defection en masse? If suppose you contest on your own, on your platform, people may elect you, may not elect you, may give you 200 number seats or may not give you 2 seats. You were given in the context, in the background of your association with ABCD. So ये defection के अंतर्गत में यहाँ इसको कहाँ fit करते हैं? How do you see? Where do you see the positions of a particular party A or B in the case of withdrawing from the alliance after getting a clear mandate? Now, 2 more issues. Same issue but 2 different examples. And I hope everybody will take it serious. And I have framed a new phrase called defection by audacity. अहंकार के साथ फिर बदली. And I'll give you two examples. Defections by audacity. I have struggled a lot to coin this phrase because I am a witness to this. There were elections in the state of Telangana. People have given a clear mandate, not a thin support majority, but a sustainable, strong majority to the party, to one party, which has come into the governance. Fine. The rest of the parties have been marginalized. तेलंगाना के लोगों ने एक पॉलिटिकल पार्टी को इतना बहुमत दे दिया कि भाई वो जो चाहे वो कर सकता है. Despite the ruling party of that state had encouraged the defections. अगर कोई स्पीकर, प्रिसाइडिंग ऑफिसर, कोई मेंबर, if he voluntarily gives up, उसका दिमाग में क्या है सोचता है, if he goes to the mind of that member who resigns, then if such exercise is conducted here, it is a classic example that ये अपना अहंकार के लिए बाकी पार्टियों में से, particularly in Telangana state, we has encouraged defection from Telugu party to tell that you are nothing before me. I can do whatever I want. A democracy मेरे हिसाब से चलता है. A multi-party system, a strong opposition, vital democracy, ये सब बकवास. जो है तो कम. Before the member of a political party submits resignation to his respective party, he was made a minister in the cabinet. अब इसको कैसा देखना है? के चंद्रशेखर राव का, मुख्यमंत्री का अहंकार निभाना, अपना अहंकार को निभाने के लिए, दिखाने के लिए, अगर वो दूसरे पार्टियों को तोड़ता है, तोड़ना ही नहीं, समूह उस पार्टी को अपने में लेना चाहता है, and he want to ensure that there is no opposition in the party, in the assembly, and he encourages the defections for his arrogance and ego, to satisfy his arrogance and ego, then how one should look into this? बड़ा एक विचित्र सी घटना है. The person who cries foul, the person who cries foul, by repeating the sentence, word, enacts the same play in his state where he is the chief minister. Chandrababu Naidu is the leader of the Telugu party. K. Chandrasekhar Rao took away a major chunk of his MLAs to TRS for no reason, not for the sustenance or maintenance of the government. He cries here, hardly 100 miles, 100 kilometers from the border. ऐसा कि धोखा है, अन्याय है, anti-democracy है. He plays the same game in his state by encouraging defection from YSRCP, another political party. वहां भी यही रूल है. More or less the mindset is same. But look, I'll smash you, I'll crush you, I'll kill you. इस defections में क्या हुआ? ये भी सोचने का विषय है. This is also an issue, important issue to be dealt with. Are all the inputs and the logics that are provided by you will help the nation, will strengthen the democracy. That's the reason why I thought, in the background of Karnataka development, judgment, I thought I will present these 4 cases before you. Then ordinarily the rest of the things come, the powers of the speaker, his limitations that were dealt upon. Then what if the another condition of the disqualification is that if you defy your party line, basically your party line is given to you through a whip. Whip is asking, directing the member to adhere to the party principles, party lines, party policies. Then so-called liberals have come up with a, then what will happen to consciousness? Then if you ask the consciousness, then what happened to your consciousness when you were given a ticket on a particular party symbol with a particular manifesto on a particular, under a particular leadership? Then why did you choose to contest on that banner? Suppose if you want to keep up your consciousness, good or bad, party has taken, and otherwise the discipline. Party, the discipline cannot function. So what will happen to whip? Should whip be removed from the system? What are the powers of the speaker? These are all issues that needs to be discussed, and I hope all your contribution in this aspect, a thorough and in-depth research, because we all have, our generation has a long hopes and very high hopes on you that you will fulfill what we could not. You will come up with fresh ideas, fresh solutions, and with an in-depth research. So I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to present my views and seek your help in clearing my doubts. Once again, I thank to the organizers for giving me an opportunity, and all of you for the patient hearing of my. Thank you.